Ma'am, I'm Commander Morrison, he said, stopping a few feet short of the gate. I understand you're looking for Admiral Richardson. That's not possible without credentials, especially at this hour. The woman didn't flinch or protest. Instead, she met his gaze calmly, rainwater tracing slow lines down her hair and sweater. I know who you are, Commander, she replied, her voice low but steady. And I know this base protocol better than most men inside it. Admiral Richardson will want to see me because if he doesn't, 3 hours from now one of your coastal assets will go dark, and by morning you'll be answering questions you don't yet have the clearance to hear. The air seemed to tighten around them. Morrison felt it, that subtle shift he'd learned to trust in combat, the moment when bravado vanished and instinct took over. That's a serious claim, he said. You'll need to explain yourself. She nodded slightly. I will. But not here, and not to enlisted personnel. Collins stiffened, half offended, half relieved. The woman then did something that finally broke Morrison's skepticism. She quietly recited the exact call sign of Morrison's last classified deployment, followed by the name of a teammate officially listed as lost at sea, a name that had never appeared outside a sealed after-action report. Morrison's jaw tightened. No civilian could know that. He turned to Collins. Secure the gate. No log entry yet. Collins hesitated only a second before complying. Morrison gestured toward the interior checkpoint. You're coming with me, he said. As they walked through the dimly lit corridor, the woman finally spoke again. Commander, tonight isn't about who I am, she said. It's about what's already moving toward your people. Morrison glanced at her, rain-soaked, unarmed, yet walking through the most secure naval facility in the country as if she belonged there. For the first time in years, the veteran SEAL felt the unmistakable sense that the mission had just changed and that this woman, whoever she truly was, stood at the center of it. Chen froze mid-sentence, her fingers hovering above the keyboard as her eyes locked onto Sarah, and for a brief, almost imperceptible moment, the practiced skepticism drained from her face, replaced by sharp recognition. She stood, slowly, deliberately, and said only one word, ma'am, with a tone Morrison had heard reserved for briefing rooms where careers and lives were decided. Sarah inclined her head in acknowledgement, never breaking stride. Morrison felt a chill crawl up his spine. Intelligence officers didn't react like that without reason. When the reinforced doors of Conference Room Alpha sealed behind them, the hum of encrypted systems filled the silence. Richardson stood at the head of the table, hands braced against the polished surface. We lost contact with the Nightfall asset 40 minutes ago, he said without preamble. Satellite blackout, SIGINT dead, local proxies compromised. Sarah removed her damp sweater, folding it neatly over a chair, revealing a faint scar along her forearm, old, precise, surgical. Because Nightfall was never shut down, she replied calmly. It was paused, fragmented, and hidden inside 3 shell programs. Someone restarted it yesterday. Morrison's breath caught. Restarted by who? Sarah finally looked at him fully. By the same network that buried the Afghan incident and blamed it on bad weather and faulty comms, she said. They think they're untouchable. Richardson exhaled slowly. We scrubbed every trace. You scrubbed the records, Sarah corrected. Not the people. She tapped the table once, and the secure display flickered to life, filling with live feeds, red-tagged names, and mission timestamps that Morrison knew were sealed beyond his clearance. They're moving personnel tonight, she continued. If they succeed, Nightfall becomes public and weaponized. The room felt smaller, heavier. Morrison realized then why every soldier had stepped aside for her. This wasn't about rank. It was about reputation, the kind earned in silence. "Who are you really?" Morrison asked quietly. Sarah met his gaze, her expression steady, burdened. "I'm the contingency," she said. "The one they call when denial is no longer possible." Richardson straightened. "What do you need?" Sarah didn't hesitate. "Authority. Silence. And one operator who still trusts his instincts." She looked at Morrison. "Congratulations, Commander. You're coming with me." Each image was annotated only with dates and brief outcome summaries: ceasefires brokered overnight, terror cells collapsing without explanation, hostage crises ending before negotiators ever arrived. No unit insignias, no names, no official signatures. Just results. Morrison felt his pulse quicken as recognition set in. He studied these incidents in war colleges and intelligence briefings, each one labeled an anomaly, an unexplained turn of events that analysts could never fully account for. Richardson closed the folder halfway and looked directly at Morrison. "These operations were executed by a single, adaptive framework," he said quietly. "Not a unit in the traditional sense. No fixed roster. No permanent command structure." He glanced at Sarah. She was its constant. Morrison turned to her, seeing now not just composure, but the accumulated weight of years spent carrying decisions no one else could share. "She planned missions," Richardson continued, "led when necessary, disappeared when required, and erased her own footprints every time." Sarah finally spoke, her voice calm but edged with steel. "The program exists to go where flags can't, where accountability would cause more damage than failure," she said. "And it only activates when every other option has been exhausted." Morrison exhaled slowly. "Operation Nightfall," he said. "It was one of yours." Sarah nodded once. "And it's active again." The room seemed to dim as the implication settled. Richardson slid another document across the table: fresh timestamps, moving indicators, live threat projections. "We believe a faction involved in Nightfall survived," the Admiral said. "They're attempting to expose fragments of the operation to destabilize multiple alliances at once." Sarah leaned forward slightly. "Which means containment windows are closing," she added. "Fast." Morrison straightened, instincts sharpening. "And my role?" Richardson didn't hesitate. "You're clean. Respected. Operationally flexible," he said. "And you were already involved once, whether you knew it or not." Sarah met Morrison's eyes, something like trust flickering there. "Commander," she said, "tonight you saw soldiers step aside not because of who I am, but because of what I represent, the cost of doing what must be done when no one is watching." She stood, the room seeming to adjust around her presence. "If you walk out now, you'll forget this meeting ever happened," she said evenly. "If you stay, you'll enter a world where success is silence and survival is its own reward." Morrison didn't look away. After a long moment, he rose to his feet. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "I've been serving my whole life. I'm not about to stop now." Sarah nodded once, the faintest trace of approval crossing her face. Richardson closed the file with a final, decisive thud. "Then let us proceed," the Admiral said. "Nightfall has begun again." Morrison leaned back slowly, the weight of the revelation settling into his chest like a held breath. "Which means a direct raid is off the table," he said quietly. "Too many unknowns. Too many chances to spook them." Sarah nodded. "A raid would scatter them," she replied. and scattered, they become invisible again. Richardson folded his hands. So we're left with one option, he said. Insertion. The room went still. Morrison looked at the blueprint again, then at Sarah. You're saying you want to walk into that warehouse, he said, disbelief edging his voice, and sit in the middle of the people planning to kill civilians on American soil. Sarah's gaze didn't waver. I'm saying I already belong there, she answered. One of my previous identities resurfaced in their internal vetting system 3 weeks ago. They think I've been inactive, burned by a failed operation overseas. That makes me credible and expendable. Morrison shook his head. You disappear again, there's no extraction window, no QRF, no official backup. There never is, Sarah said softly. That's the cost. Richardson turned to Morrison. Your role is containment and contingency, he said. If Sarah confirms the full scope of the attack, you'll coordinate interdiction with assets that don't know why they're being activated. Morrison clenched his jaw. And if something goes wrong, Sarah answered before the Admiral could, then nothing about this meeting ever happened. She stood, studying the map one last time. But if it goes right, she continued, no one will ever know how close they came. Morrison looked at her not as a commander now, but as a man faced with the reality of what true service demanded. He understood then why soldiers stepped aside, why hardened operators lowered their eyes in respect. Sarah wasn't untouchable. She was unacknowledged. Richardson closed the file, sealing it with a classification stamp that erased it from any searchable system. You have 12 hours, he said. Sarah nodded once. As she turned toward the door, Morrison spoke. Sarah, he said. She paused. You said some sacrifices can never be recognized. He met her eyes. That doesn't mean they're unseen. For the first time that night, her expression softened just slightly. Then she walked out of conference room Alpha, heading back into the shadows where the most important battles were fought without witnesses, and where the fate of millions would hinge on a woman the world did not know existed. By nightfall, the base hummed with a restrained urgency, the kind that never reached raised voices. Oh,